A $130,000 drone just outplayed $1 billion air defense. 2 loitering drones, a wall of decoys, and 1 precise radar kill shot, then the Tula, Moscow pipeline erupts. You're about to see how Degrade Deceive Deliver turns cheap assets into strategic disruption. Harm missiles peel the radar, spoofed tracks pull S-400 eyes away, and low-signature drones slip in to break a $3 billion fuel artery. Want the full sequence and why it starved frontline units for days? Stay. The math, and the timing, will change how you see modern warfare. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. $1 billion net went dark for minutes. That window is where cheap drones start to count. So how do you shut an air defense without owning the sky? Start with the shape of the threat. S-400s don't hunt alone, they lean on long-range radar nodes that map the air like a grid, layer by layer. Search radars sweep wide. Engagement radars lock tight. Data links fuse it into a kill web that punishes anything that spits heat or radio. If the picture holds, the net bites. So the math is cruel. A quadcopter dies clean. A jet that pokes gets painted and pushed by missiles. And on the other side, the operators wait for a massed raid, not a thread pulled with a steady hand. You don't beat that head on. You pull the thread. The feint starts low and cheap. Decoy drones lift from scattered pads, slow and loud on purpose. Software injects spoofed tracks into the noise, ghost echoes that look like fast movers and cruise shapes. Now the operators have a choice. Ignore the clutter and risk a real hit, or light up more sensors and vector interceptors to sanitize the sky. They light up. That's the hinge. A radar is a voice. When it talks, you can hear it. The moment a high-value emitter speaks, it becomes a target that tells you where to look and what to shoot. Meanwhile, interceptors burn fuel on false vectors, and batteries pivot their tubes off the main axis. Attention is a finite resource. This is when the strike threads in. MiG-29s edge in from offset routes, low profile, clean enough to blend with the clutter. Pods cue the seekers. They fire anti-radiation missiles at the node that holds the picture together. Once the emitter talks, harm listens and hunts. It rides the signal home like a bloodhound. There's science behind the pressure. Home on emission logic narrows the window. The radar can try to shut off, hop frequency, or hand over to another unit, but the missile already has a bead, a last known vector, and a memory that carries it through the blink. Even a short burst to requeue targets can be fatal. Discipline helps, but the logic punishes the act of seeing. The defenders don't stand still. They pop flares to distract seekers that don't care. They trail-toed decoys to bend tracks. They switch routes, reposition batteries, and try to pull the missile into dirt with a last-second notch. Some tricks work against heat. Some work against pulse patterns. The point here isn't to win a duel. It's to make the network stumble. You pay up front for that stumble. Airframes go airborne. Tankers feed them. Munitions leave the racks. You burn cycles and money to buy the one thing that multiplies every other asset, time without eyes on. Those minutes let small tools move like they're big. Then the payoff clicks. The uplink that ties the S-400 to the wide area picture loses coherence. Data drops. Handovers lag. Search sweeps still swing, but the grid stutters between frames. In that short span, the sky becomes loud but blind. Tracks smear. Confidence falls. Shooters hesitate because bad shots waste missiles and expose positions. That gap is the win. Not total air control, not a parade of jets, but a thin slice of doubt laid across the board. And while operators chase phantoms to the west and dump interceptors into decoys, the real work sets up off-axis. With the radar peeled back and attention dragged the wrong way, you move to misdirection. You seed new ghosts, lower and closer. You hide the blade in the noise and time the cut to the beat of their confusion. What if the real strike costs less than the feint? Two low-signature loiterers cross a blind slice of sky. The giant scans. It doesn't see. The target is simple and central. A pipeline corridor feeding armor, trucks, and tempo. It moves fuel toward the north, where logistics hubs push loads along roads that feed the fight. Hit the right joint and you don't just break pipe. You slow movement. You force choices. You tax every mile with delay. But then the radar hit triggers a reflex. Interceptors shift bases and step to alert. EW teams start sweeping for stray emissions. Short-range batteries requeue and tighten rings around depots and bridges. Everyone is hunting for the next blow, but the picture they trust now lags and smears. Confidence drops a notch. So you drown them. A wall of cheap airframes rises and wanders into defended arcs, loud on purpose. Spoofed tracks stack in sectors where operators already feel pressure. Missiles launch at ghosts that keep coming. While that storm rolls, two recon pairs work by wire. Fiber-tethered optics ride lightweight masts and rooftops, painting the route with clean eyes and almost no RF spill. You get terrain, wind, and gaps. You get timing. The delivery rides that timing. Reboth-class loitering drones lift from a panel truck disguised as a service rig. No radio chatter. They clip the earth, hug low ground, and let fences and tree lines do the masking. They don't sprint. They wait. They move when the scans swing past, when launchers cool, when a sector looks busy in the wrong place. Here's the blunt edge of the research. Low RCS drones, inside a degraded and saturated defense, can cross short windows unchallenged. The defender's cost per kill flips upside down. It takes premium missiles and crews to chase noise. It takes almost nothing to send noise. In that math, the attacker wins time and reach. Meanwhile, the ground layer pins sensors off-axis. A northern armor feint bumps a checkpoint and kicks up dust. Small teams on bikes rush a logistics shed and smash fuel pallets and radios. The defenders respond as trained. They throw eyes and guns to the noise. That is the job. And that is the fix. The route opens. The two loiterers track a utility corridor and skip under a power span. They slip past a battery that stays cold because its queue list is full of higher threat ghosts. They reach the seam that matters, junction valves and pressure regulators where flow concentrates. That is where small becomes large. The strike lands. One warhead bites the valve cluster. The second follows into the regulator assembly. A rupture starts as a raw hiss, then fire takes the column and drives it into the night. The corridor burns. Flow stops. Control rooms upstream close other gates and reroute, but they can't magic volume into lines that now run empty. The payoff is brutal and clean. A pair that costs less than a mid-range missile unlocks a multi-billion-dollar choke. Fuel stops. Convoys stack at depots. Dispatchers slip schedules by hours that turn into days. Units down the line slow, then pause, then start to cannibalize their own plans. You asked why the S-400 looked but didn't see. Because its eyes were forced wide and its hands were busy. That is why you spend millions to make the cheap shot land. You buy seconds and hide your blade in them. And while pursuit tries to flood the gap, delayed mines and mortar shaping make every chase lane a bad bet, buying the next turn in the game where information beats steel. Strategy is time. You buy seconds, then let small tools flip big levers. You don't chase glory, you create brief gaps where cheap assets bend routes, stall fuel, and choke momentum. That is the lever arm. That is how maps move without mass. If you want the tactics that win, degrade, deceive, deliver, hit the subscribe button and comment your choice below. Where would you apply this playbook next? Pick a corridor, a sensor, a seam. The next battles won't be loud, they'll be timed. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict. Your move starts with the clock.